Oh, talking sports with 12 man. We are officially live on Facebook, on YouTube, all that fun stuff. Got the fellas here. We're missing JQ, but we're still gonna have a fantastic show. So without further ado, let's check in with the fellas. Rob Ford, how you feeling this evening, sir?
Man, feeling great. LSU going on to the College World Series Finals. Just knocked out Arkansas, and we ready. Saturday night, game 1 against Coastal Carolina. Look, Coastal Carolina's going to be a tough opponent. They've won 26 in a row. Look, LSU, we got 2 of the best pitchers in the country, in Cade Anderson and Anthony Ensign. So our pitching staff is set up for success. Cade Evans, one of the best relievers in the country, too. We're ready. We're about to bring another national championship to Baton Rouge. It'll be our second in 3 years. And, of course, LSU, of course, one of the dominant baseball programs in the country. So, go Tigers. Go Tigers, as that Ogeron would say.
Oh, man. So, Gary.
It's all LSU tonight. No asparagus.
Gary, what's going on, my guy? You got to follow up that. How you going to do that?
I don't know how I can follow up that. That was a good plug for your team. I'll tell you that, though. That was professional there, Rob. I'll give you that. And, I thought, hats off to your chauffeur, getting you home on time. Appreciate it. Yeah. What's her name?
I drove myself.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm on chauffeur.
Oh, I love it. And we got to give a shout out to Gary's amazing Cowboys jersey, the original. Who's that? The original one that you're sporting, Gary, over there?
Well, I'm not. This is CeeDee Lamb's, but the original is, of course, Drew Pierce. The original 88.
There it is. We are having a fantastic time. Thank you again, guys. We've been off for a couple weeks, just catching up, traveling. The guy's been busy. Shout out to JQ. He's actually in my home state of Indiana. A little Naptown vibes here, so hopefully he'll join us next week. And I know we always enjoy his amazing personality too. He cracks us up too. So again, we appreciate him, and hopefully he'll get back on next week and share about some exploits and all that fun stuff in Naptown too. So I hope you had a chance to check out St. Elmo too. Great spot, plugging my hometown. And we'll talk about the Pacers and talk about OKC. We got a lot of things to dive into, but really quickly, you know the drill. A couple places you can find us. You can find us on the Twitter or the X, or Twitter, if you will, which is at the number 12 THMAN Sports. We're also on YouTube, which is another 12th Man Sports in that arena too. And then last but not least, if you're following us on Facebook, if you're on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/12th Man Sports, or if you type in Talking Sports with 12th Man, you will see us in that arena as well. Rob posts a lot of fun stuff. And then I know Rob is doing a great job of posting his videos and also some mock draft stuff. And I post every now and then too, obviously staying busy, but that's okay. We're going to make this happen too. So, man, without further ado, we got a lot of things to discuss. And we're going to kick it off with some Major League Baseball. And we have the Rafael getting traded, freshly acquired from Boston. Rob, he told reporters that he's here to play wherever they want me to play. So I think they're planning to split him between DH and first base. But, yeah, man, what do you think about this move, Rob?
Yeah, it's a good move for the Giants, right? They're second place in the National League West. So, I still think even with this acquisition, I think the Giants are still going to be second fiddle to the Dodgers, right? I think the Dodgers are still the favorite. Dodgers have won the first 2 games of the series so far against the Padres this week. And this 4-game series. So I think the Dodgers will at least win one more and win this series 3-1. But it's definitely a good move. I think this solidifies the Giants as a playoff team, just not a division winner. I mean, you look at Rafael numbers this year. He's batting .274, 15 homers, 59 RBIs, 76 hits on the season. He gives them another good bat in the lineup. And the Giants are already having a pretty solid season. So I definitely think it solidifies them as a playoff team, but not quite a division winner just yet. So definitely a good move for the Giants, no doubt about it.
It's going to have to be 2 or 3 more moves like this in order for them to be able to really compete against the Dodgers. The Dodgers
Yeah.
are that. Unfortunately they're just that team. But still a good move. Good acquisition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they
So
6-4 in their last 10 games. They're 3.5 games back of the Dodgers, but yeah, it won't put them over the Dodgers. But I definitely think they secure one of those wild card spots for sure.
yeah, and apparently Rafael was being courted by a couple teams, Rob, too, from what we're understanding, right? So I guess the Giants were kind of the one to kind of get his services, if I'm not mistaken, as far as looking that up, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, they went after him. I mean, the Giants are one of the premier baseball franchises in the major leagues, right? And they got a rivalry with the Dodgers, and they're trying to do everything they can to catch them. Not going to be enough just yet, but I definitely think, as we said before, I think it definitely solidifies them as a playoff team.
Good stuff. All right, I know this is not going to have a lot of love for you guys here talking about what's going on with the Yankees. They were shut out again for their third straight game. This is actually tying a franchise record, and I think the players kind of had a private meeting to regroup, obviously after falling to the Angels. But what are your thoughts on this particular move and kind of the next steps for the Giants?
Well, I mean, they're definitely struggling right now, and they just lost to the Angels again today, 3-2. They finally scored a couple of runs, but the Yankees have now lost 5 in a row, and so they're really struggling right now. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games. The Tampa Bay Rays are on their ass. They're only 2 games back. Blue Jays only 2 games back right now. The hated Red Sox are only 4.5 games back, and the Red Sox. I mean, they've won 7 out of their last 8 games, 8 out of their last 10 games right now. So the Yankees are got to get it together because they got 3 teams in that division that are starting to play some really good baseball right now. And that's the Rays, the Blue Jays, and the Red Sox. I'm still confident, but all of a sudden, for some reason, they're back to the old. Good news is they just got Giancarlo Stanton back, so hopefully that gives them a little bit more juice.
Yep.
But if this doesn't get any better, they're going to have to look to see what's out there for some trades, etc. You'd like to see them go out there, Rafael Devers, but they definitely going to have to look to see what they can do to get this roster a little bit better. For sure. And still not convinced we got the right closer on the team too, right? And so that's something else we got to make sure we get a chance to secure.
Yeah, I've been watching the Red Sox, and they're the team that I think that of course I hate them over the other teams in the division. You always hate the Red Sox the most,
Right?
Course, as a Yankee supporter. So you're watching them, and then you're watching the Yankees do just the opposite. Definitely troublesome. Hopefully Stanton can kickstart something, but they got to make some sort of moves. They got to. I don't know what they need, but they need a lot.
And Aaron Judge got cold all of a sudden too, right?
Yeah.
And Giancarlo Stanton, the one good thing is, and he was outstanding in the playoffs last year, right? I mean, They made it to the World Series, lost to the Dodgers, so they need that Giancarlo Stanton to kind of get it going here. Now that he's coming back. I mean, I think they kind of been using him in the pinch hit role so far. But I think any day now he'll be starting as a DH or something along those lines. They need his bat starting in the starting lineup. So I think you're going to see that really soon.
Yeah. There it is. All right, gentlemen. Nice little recap as far as going to Major League Baseball. Let's keep it on to the NBA, which is king right now. And let's talk about a couple things here. We got the OKC and Pacers series, which has been a fantastic series, believe it or not. But the kind of the interesting news that's happening from the Pacers front is Tyrese Halliburton status for Game 6, and he's dealing with the calf strain, and currently is questionable according to some reports for Game 6 of the finals, which is going to be tomorrow night. Rick Carlisle, the coach, labeled him as a game-time decision, but Halliburton confirmed that he will do everything in his power to play. And the Pacers do need him, even though it was a lot closer than anticipated until the OKC opened it up kind of in the last couple minutes in the fourth quarter. But give the Pacers some credit. Obviously having a healthy Halliburton is going to, make the series a little bit closer. But I know, Rob, we talked about it. We kind of had predictions as far as, OKC in 6. I know, Gary, you were holding strong with the Pacers pick, so it's not a bad pick, Gary. But we'll see if if Halliburton's out, man. I think, I don't know, man. It's going to be a little – I know that the Thunder do not want to go to Indiana. They want to wrap it up tomorrow night, Rob.
Yeah, and I think they will. I think OKC is going to finish off this series on tomorrow night. And Halliburton, even prior to the calf strain, I mean, he did hit that big shot at the end of game 1 to win, but he hasn't had a great series, right?
No.
Some of that's him, and some of that's obviously you got to give OKC a lot of credit what they're doing defensively against Halliburton as well, right?
Yeah.
And
they got enough guys to throw at him.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
that's what you guys. That's what the three of you talked about when we were making our, predictions.
Yeah.
And Caruso's that glue guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, Caruso. All off season I said the acquisitions of Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein were like the huge difference for this OKC team versus last year OKC team, right? What they did is they got two guys that's going to bring their hard hat every night, right? And they're going to bring the team together. They're going to fight. They're going to defend. They're going to rebound. They're going to do all the dirty work. And it brought them some veteran presence, which they didn't have, because you got to realize
opportunistic scoring.
Yeah. You got to realize OKC had the best record in NBA last season, right? But this is what they did not have in the playoffs last year. They didn't have Caruso. They didn't have Hartenstein. So that's the big difference. It's allowing SGA to really be a star. And hey, I keep saying it. And one of these days, y'all going to agree with me, but Jalen Williams is an emerging star.
Oh, absolutely.
Q is not on the show. I'm a huge Jalen Williams fan. I was like, man, I was actually impressed watching him. Like, this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to stop putting Jordan Poole in the same breath with Jalen Williams. I text you this, and I'm calling you out on the show. You cannot compare Jordan Poole to Jalen Williams. I'm sorry. Jalen Williams gets it done on both ends of the floor. Jordan Poole,
good defender.
Jordan Poole, the only thing he can do is be a 6-man or 7-man off the bench if he's going to be on a winning team. This Jalen Williams is an elite ball player. It's interesting. The reporter told Jalen Williams, "Man, you're almost like a Scottie Pippen to SGA." You know what his response was? He says, "I'm a Jordan as well. We got two Jordans on our team."
Yeah, he's not.
He said, "I'm not a Scottie Pippen."
We'll give him Pippen, but hey, come on. You want the guy to have confidence, though, so I'm okay.
Yeah. I compared him to Scottie Pippen because of the way he defends, right? Scottie Pippen always defended the other team's best player, and which took a lot off of Jordan, right?
Yeah.
And so Jalen Williams does that. He always defends the other team's best player, except when Caruso comes in the game. And when Caruso comes in the game, a lot of times he'll defend the other team's best player, right? Mm-hmm. But in the starting five, Jalen Williams normally is that guy that's doing that, and his confidence on the offensive end just continues.
Right. That's the thing.
So he's playing big time on defense.
Yeah.
And offensively, every game he's improved.
Yep.
Every game. Yeah. First game, 17, 4, and 6. Second game, 19, 5, and 5. Next game, 26, 6 and 3, 27, 7 and 3, and 46 and 4.
Yeah. And this OKC team, I keep saying it, one of their strengths is defensively, they're getting extra possessions, and that's where they beat you. With the steals and the deflections and the blocks and the transition points that they get, the extra possessions that they get, that's a game changer in basketball. When you think about it, you get 7 to 8, 9 steals. I mean, that's almost 16 to 20 points that you're getting just off of your defense. And that's a game changer in the game of basketball, right?
Oh, yeah.
That being said, Tyrese Halliburton's going to play tomorrow. This is the finals.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%.
This was a regular season game. I think he'll sit out, but this is the NBA finals. I think he's going to give it a go. We'll have to see how effective he's going to be, but he will play. I mean, I know we got all this nonsense about these questionable game time decision.
Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton, mark my word, will be in that starting lineup.
He's going to play. Yeah, we know he's going to play. You got to, this is the last game. So, even if one leg, but, you're going to go out there. Go ahead, Gary. What were you going to say?
It may be the last game. May not be.
That's true. I'm not going to put that. I mean, like I said, I predicted 6. Rob predicted 6, but you got to play the games for sure. So,
got to play the games.
In these games, give or take, 1 or 2, 3 plays.
Yeah.
There at the end, all these games could have gone either way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really. It's been a good series.
It really has been an entertaining series. Yeah. 2 small market teams. Having some success. It says a lot about the parity of the league. And, I read something the other day. I think these 2 teams have the 9th and the 16th highest payrolls in the NBA.
Wow.
So, I mean, you got at least 8 other teams that's got a higher payroll than these 2 teams. And I can't remember which one was 16. I want to say that OKC is the team that has the 16th highest payroll.
Wow. I can look at
about to win the NBA championship.
Yeah,
that's going to change eventually because they got to pay Jalen Williams, they got to pay Chet Holmgren, and they keep these guys together. They're going to be up there as far as.
And Chet's been playing good ball too, blocking, defense. I mean, I thought he was just going to be too thin and was just going to end up being beat up in the league. But so far,
no. I mean, I knew he was a pretty good prospect, right? And
keep defending.
He can shoot the basketball. He can handle the basketball like a point forward.
Yep.
He's got a good basketball IQ. He also defends, blocks shots, gets his hands on deflections as well. And look, there's still, he did miss at least 20 games this year. So, I mean, there's still some health things that he's got to work on to stay healthy and still get a little bit stronger. But when he plays, he definitely has a huge impact on the game. He's also becoming an elite rebounder, too.
Yeah,
there it is. Looks like OKC was 6, and looks like right now, I don't know. It's showing that Indiana's 18th, Rob, unless something happened. But that's again, I think you're close to that for sure. For
maybe that's what it was, 16th and 18th. Yeah.
No, you're fine. It was 9th and 18th, whatever. But 6th and 18th, yeah. Which is fine, but that's still pretty phenomenal and remarkable. Sir, I'm sorry for my Seattle people that they're really hating the fact that OKC made that move, but. Hopefully Seattle will get a squad too, because we miss having a team in Seattle. Maybe the Supersonics will make another resurgence, if you will. Keep that hope alive, as they say. I just want to piggyback one more time on Jalen Williams, Rob, before we move on. And it's great because seeing him, if you don't really get a chance to watch him, I mean, just the way sometimes he's able to, handle the basketball. I mean, it's been very impressive to see like him. Give SGA a break, if you will. And obviously they have, so and other players too, but just I was impressed with him able to, again, direct the offense and make some plays and just hit some big time shots, So again, Scottie Pippen did a little bit of that too. I don't know if Scottie was that good of a ball handler. I think he was just as good, but
he was a good ball.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was good, but I'm saying like you're kind of thinking of like, just man, he wasn't like a point guard, point forward, but he was doing some good stuff too, man. So I'm just definitely impressed with Jalen Williams for sure. We are going to keep this going here, and let's talk about an interesting move. Speaking of the Pacers, and this can be considered an unusual move, but they shipped the Indiana Pacers, shipped their number 23 pick in the upcoming draft to New Orleans for a future 2026 first rounder. And if you're kind of looking at what they were saying as far as why, obviously that means Indiana now has first-round picks. They get their first-rounder back, if I'm not mistaken. They have first-round picks from 2026 to 2032, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And for you guys, that's an interesting move for New Orleans. Now, you guys have 2 picks in this round right now, Rob. I think you have the 7th and the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken, Rob, for the mock draft. So, so talk about that, and how does this help the Pelicans kind of rebuild, Rob, if you are kind of GMing for them?
Well, I'll start with the Pacers first, and then I'll go to the Pels. When you look, the Pacers are obviously making this move because they have some players they want to re-sign, right? Miles Turner, and Aaron Neesmith, right? And this gives them some extra cap flexibility by not having to pay a first-round pick. So they want to keep a lot of this roster together, particularly Miles Turner and Aaron Neesmith, who's up for contract extension. So it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense for both franchises. The Pelicans definitely need some help. And, we need some interior help, right? I actually got us doubling down on 2 bigs in my latest mock draft. I have us taking Kaman Maluk from the big center from South Sudan, right? 7'2", long arms, block shots, rebound, still raw on the offensive end, right? When you look at this Pelicans team, Yves Missy, who we drafted in the first round last year, was really our only productive big on the roster we had last year. And he was a rookie. And so we need some size. We even had to play Zion Williamson on that center, and that's not his natural position. So it's an opportunity. I have us doubling down on a couple of bigs. I'd be shocked if this is what they actually do. I have us taking Thomas Sober, 6'9" center, also was a big-time defender and rebounder. Probably is a little bit more skilled offensively than Kaman, but Kaman is an elite athlete at 7'2", elite wingspan, who will be a problem for teams on the defensive end in the NBA. But definitely a team. You got to get DeJounte Murray healthy too, right? He's coming off an Achilles injury. He's probably not going to be ready at the start of the season. You could possibly look to get another guard there as well. I know reportedly Joe Dumars is high on Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey is some think he's sliding. I got him down to number 6 right now, and so to Washington, and Pelicans are picking 7. So it might be interesting to see if Joe is going to try to move up. But the report is that he is one of the few GMs that's still very high on. I'm not going to say few. He's one of the GMs that's still high on Ace Bailey, but some teams have moved him down the draft board because he failed to work out for them.
Rob, I've got one question for you. With the 2 first-round picks, do you think the Pelicans could combine those and move up a couple of spots, or and if so, what would they be looking for if they did something like that?
Well, the report is Dumars is high on Ace Bailey, and he might fall right to him at number 7. So I'm not even sure if he needs to move up. I mean, right now I got him at number 6.
Yeah,
and he could be still sliding. And that was my first thoughts, is that maybe he's getting this extra pick to try to move up. But if I'm Joe, I would probably stand pat and try to get your team some more depth on his roster. If Ace falls to you, great. If he doesn't, you still just pick the best players available and build out that roster as much as you can.
Well, what I was reading about Bailey is that he could fall anywhere between 6 and 14.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
I still like Ace Bailey. I like his game, and he can.
Yes.
He's got long wingspan.
Yeah.
He can shoot the basketball. I think he can be a 3-and-D guy in the NBA. A guy's going to defend with that wingspan, and a guy that can shoot the basketball, right? There's some opportunities. He's got to improve his ability to put the ball on the floor and attack the basket. But as far as shooting the basketball and defending, I think he's a guy that can come in and help your team almost right away, right? And so I'm still an Ace Bailey fan. I'm not sure, what happened with the teams he's refused to work out for and things of that nature. But I still like Ace Bailey's game.
Yeah, I think he got some bad advice from some agents because he didn't want to work out for any teams past number 3. He worked out with the 76ers, who have the number 3 pick, like we talked about. So, again, and that's typical, right? Most of the time as a draft prospect, you meet with all the teams, you kind of see what's happening. And, he hasn't participated in a single workout, apparently, from what we're talking about. Declining. He's also been declining a lot of invitations too. So I think that's pretty interesting. And unless he was made a promise, or as we talked about, he got some bad advice, it's not really a good look, And then you obviously have VJ Edgecombe has done the opposite. He's been very impressive in workouts, apparently, personality interviews, and he had a good interview with the 76ers too. So you got to think about, like you talked about, Gary, if Ace does kind of fall, if 76ers kind of take VJ, that's going to be an interesting look. And lastly, Rob, I'll let you kind of comment on that. There's been some speculation on how actually tall Ace Bailey is. He was listed at 6'10" on the Redcurds website. He goes to the combine. He measured at 6 and 7 inches barefoot. He does have a 7-foot wingspan, but they're kind of listing him at 6'8". So again, that's the difference between 6'10" and 6'8", obviously.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of Ace Bailey, but it's kind of how tall actually are you, my guy? So that's a whole other conversation as far as what's happening with that as well. It kind of contributed why he may be slipping too, Rob.
Yeah.
Are they hiding an injury there? Are they? I mean, sometimes I think that maybe that could be something. Maybe a hamstring, maybe whatever. I don't know.
Haven't heard of an injury. I agree with Andre. I think they've now listed him at 6'8", which is initially about 2 inches shorter than what they initially thought he was. But I also think the lack of the workouts has probably been the main thing that's probably. And look, there's some scouts that think he could be a boom.
Yeah.
And some scouts that think he could be a bust. And so I think these teams, and when you draft that high in a draft, they're looking for a sure thing, right?
Yeah.
So some scouts are like, man, he might actually be a big-time all-star kind of player. And then there's some scouts that are like, ooh, he's got kind of bust potential too.
Scary.
And,
I don't think so myself.
That's the scary part for what I'm hearing from some scouts.
Yeah, and I've read that. I've read that today.
Yeah.
Gary, seems like he's got to be in the right situation, right, to kind of make sure that he's not a bust. I would assume that too. So if you put too much pressure on him, if you got
a guy, to me, if you got a good point guard, or you have a team that has a legitimate post man that's going to draw double teams and kick it out to him, I think those are the kind of teams he will probably have some success with.
Mm-hmm.
A point guard that can penetrate, get to the basket, and kick out, or a guy, and that's why I think Joe Dumars is probably really high on him, because you look at a guy like Zion Williamson, who's always going to draw double teams when he gets the ball in the paint. If you can get him around, get some shooters around him, and get more shooters around him, could have some more success there. So that could be one of the reasons why Joe is kind of high on him. But yeah, I agree with Edgecombe. I got Edgecombe going number 3 overall for Sixers.
Yeah.
I've said on this show before, he's got Dwayne Wade potential.
Wow.
And his floor, to me, is like a Victor Oladipo. And if you remember, Victor Oladipo was an all-star player prior to his injuries that he had in the NBA. And Oladipo was a good athlete, a good defender, and that's what Edgecombe kind of reminds me of. He's about a 6'4" guy. He's got about a 6'7", 6'8" wingspan. His offensive game is still developing, but he'll come into the league and be a great athlete and a great defender from the start. And you say, well, the Sixers don't need a guard, right? They got Tyrese Maxey. They got Jared McCants, who got hurt on last year. But we all know for the last 10 years, the NBA has really become like a positionless league. And you draft the best players available right now, and then you go from there. And if the Sixers feel like he's the third best player, even though you got Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCants on that roster, I think you still go and you go out and draft VJ Edgecombe if he's that guy for you.
There it is.
If they're smart, they'll do that. I don't know how smart Philadelphia will be with this. So.
Yeah, because we still got to figure out what the hell's happened with Joel Embiid, man. That's a whole other conversation, man. But 76ers.
Process is ongoing.
That's for you, Richmond. I hope that the 76ers fail everything about Philadelphia. It's all good. I'm not in a good space with Philly.
Still got his Eagles.
That's right, man. Let's talk about another story, Rob, before we get into the NBA mock draft overview. That the Suns are eyeing the number 2 pick for Kevin Durant. And again, if you guys did not know, that is the Spurs' second pick, if you will. The Spurs are the most luckiest team besides the Knicks, apparently, in the NBA. after the Mavericks, apparently. But
I don't know how lucky the Knicks are. They haven't won the championship since 1973.
I'm seeing the frozen envelope, but again, we'll talk about
that. I'm saying the Mavs right now, but
well, we'll go with the Mavs. I'm just saying, I get you.
San Antonio right there.
They've had more opportunities, it seems like, but understood. But Phoenix apparently wants Stephen Castle, get the hell out of here in exchange for Durant. But again, we're looking at the multiple outlets are saying that, Phoenix, you're going to have to lower your asking price because you guys don't have a lot of leverage at this point. And right now it appears that the Spurs, they're like, I don't know. We kind of like Castle. We're going to stick with that. And it appears that the more aggressive teams are the Rockets and the Miami Heat. But again, if you're the Spurs, you're kind of in a good position, Rob. I don't think you have to make that move. I mean, you may like Durant, but the process is on Durant.
If I'm the San Antonio Spurs, the only team I'm thinking about trading that second pick overall to is if the Milwaukee Bucks call me and offer Giannis. I'm not making that trade for Kevin Durant. I know Stephen A. Smith and all these guys on TV still loving on Kevin Durant, but in my personal opinion, I think Kevin Durant's best role on the team right now is a six-man coming off the bench as a scorer.
Wow.
And I mean, look, the guy can still score the basketball. I mean, I'm not going to take that away from him. The guy can still score the basketball, but I just don't think he's a guy that you want to be your top one or two guys on the roster anymore. And we've seen this before in the NBA where guys are scorers on losing teams, and then they go to other teams and they'll win the title coming off the bench, right? And I think that's where Kevin Durant is in his career, in my opinion. That's where he is at this point in his career. I think he should be a guy that's coming off the bench. And if I'm the San Antonio Spurs, if the Phoenix Suns call me and offer Durant for Stephen Castle on the second pick, I'm hanging up the phone. Stephon Castle is an elite defensive player already in his career. He's really improving on the offensive end. You got a chance to draft Dylan Harper, who could probably play the one or the two, and be an elite point guard possibly in the NBA, right? I think Dylan Harper, I compare his game to Cade Cunningham. And you saw the way Cade Cunningham had a heck of a season with the Detroit Pistons this past season, right? I think Dylan Harper has that kind of potential. So the only guy I'm considering making that trade for the number 2 pick is if the Milwaukee Bucks call and say, hey, we offering you Giannis.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not making that deal for Kevin Durant.
Well, Giannis is not the head case that Kevin Durant, even at his best, has always been. He's always let media or other players or, he's always had hurt feelings and these sort of things you don't need with your franchise player.
He's a sensitive dude, Gary. He's sensitive. He's a sensitive guy.
He is very sensitive. A little too sensitive for what I would want in my all-star player. Now, he's not that all-star player anymore. I don't think he's just a sixth man, though. I think he could be a second option on a lot of teams. I think he's that good. But
he was there with Phoenix, and what did he get him?
Well, I agree with you.
It's supposed to be amazing. Booker, if you looked at that on paper, you thought it was going to be a pretty good team, right? Booker. Beal.
On paper, it looked really good.
On paper, but then again, you got to have a bench. You got to have chemistry. That colossally failed. Go ahead, Gary.
Does Kevin Durant bring chemistry to a team? He doesn't. He really doesn't.
It hasn't worked in Phoenix. It hasn't worked with the Brooklyn Nets. And that's why. Hey, look,
it didn't even really work.
Don't you talk about it? Don't you say it?
Work in Golden State.
It did work. They won a championship. Don't you
talk about it? They did win a championship, but his feelings were hurt because it wasn't his team. It was Steph's team.
I think what happened was Draymond Green was talking issue to him.
Andre going to defend Golden State. So
I knew it was coming. But you're right, Andre. Draymond Green saying, "Hey, buddy,
like, come on,
feelings not hurt. This is still his team."
Yeah, well,
his feelings got hurt.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole.
The funny thing is, Kevin Durant was the best player on those two teams. He was better than Steph Curry on those two teams.
He was. I mean, that's the thing that makes
because the crowds and the players on the team, they didn't agree with him. They didn't agree with us. I thought he was the best player on that team.
And
That
he got
hurt his
finals
feelings.
MVP on both of those teams.
Well, I
That
mean,
hurt
the
his
thing
feelings.
is, still the thing is, that whole situation was tough because he got so much flack. That's like, you go into, that's like if, same thing, Saquon going from, obviously from the Giants to the Eagles, like you're going to the rival, but you went to a team that just beat you. You're like, he got all kinds of flack for that. And he's like, well, they clearly made a pitch. I went there and he could not handle all of the backlash that came with it. And clearly he's a top player. So
even if he had not won anything, if Kevin Durant would have changed his whole trajectory of his career, and they were that close at OKC from beating Golden State, he would have got a hell of a lot more respect at the end of his career if he'd have stayed right there trying to win for the team that drafted.
That's understood. But like you said, Gary, at the end of the day, I see both sides because, again, I know, and we know Rob hates Golden State, so we're going to let him kind of go off of that. But the point is, it's a situation where there's some chemistry, right? And I still kind of go back to Russell Westbrook because Russell Westbrook, was still kind of in his feelings like, I got to be the man. You're kind of battling with Kevin Durant. And there's some I think there's some kind of undercurrents as far as that relationship. And then again, Golden State made the pitch like, hey, come here.
Well, that was you're right. That was a bad mix because you had two guys
that wanted to be alphas.
They were alphas, but mentally they were not alphas.
Because if I'm Russell, and I have a point guard mentality.
You know what I mean by that?
I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly.
Okay.
But I'm saying I'm a point guard, right? If I'm like a pure point guard. Like that's when I play. So literally, I would have had 20 assists if I had Kevin Durant. That's how I would have played. I don't need to score and have I'm like, dude, I got the best shooter right here. I'm having 30 assists a game, whatever.
How many triple doubles did he have there?
Still, but you were still battling. Yeah, I get you.
But that's what happened. Instead of them trying to coexist and actually try and beat their nemesis,
there it is.
West,
it was
the
about
best
me.
Team in the league.
Yep. It was about me from Russell. But again, I'm not talking ish. I'm just saying that's kind of my perspective on the outside looking in. There's probably some things that we don't know about. And, Durant may not say that. But again, you had Golden State made a pitch like, hey, they targeted just with anybody. Say if LeBron was out, you're going to make a targeted pitch. Hey, come to Golden State. Just happen to be the team that you lost to. And again, the whole purpose of this was he just got so much flack for that. And again.
Now, Kevin Durant is a very nice person. A very nice person. I've had several talks with him.
Okay.
We were, and we do the NBA charters. I was doing an NBA charter when they were playing the Blazers. We were de-icing the airplane.
Okay.
Kevin Durant, I'm in the de-ice bucket. So I'm 3.5 feet, 4 feet off the ground. Kevin Durant comes up to me and we're face to face.
Wow.
Right. And he says, wow. He says, I've always wanted to see how this thing works. He says, could I get up in this thing? I said, oh no. I said, first of all, you have to be harnessed in and you have to be trained for it. So no, I can't get you up here, but I can show you how things work if you want to and tell you about it. And he says, oh, would you? Because I've seen it done so many times. Okay. Anyway, he sat there and visited with me and there were some rookies coming on the plane. And then at that point, his other head case brother was getting on the plane and saying something smart because their checkpoint was, he thought he was bothered by TSA touching him, And so Kevin Durant says, hey, wait a minute. He says, I've got something for you guys. Is that your van over there? So he goes up on the plane. He gets this big tray of shrimp off the plane. He says, open that door up for that thing. So one of the guys opened the door up and he sets it in there, this big tray of shrimp. He says, take this down to your break room. I said, are you sure? And he says, absolutely. One of the rookies gets up and says, hey, I was going to eat some of that. And he says, there's plenty of food on there. Get your ass on the plane, rookie. We'll see you later. So he was a really nice guy.
I get you. I mean, like I said, again, I know I get passionate about that too, but because again, it's just the circumstances around it too. But I'm gonna let that slide or pass for right now too, because we got other topics. But again, I'm pretty passionate about the situation too, because there's been some podcasts about him and that whole decision, and pretty fascinating about how he had to learn how to coexist with Steph Curry. It's not as easy as we thought. It's like you have to know that he always operated like it was Steph's team. And again, he was like, hey, I only have like 15 shots a game, because I know I got to give more shots to obviously to Steph and some shots to Draymond. And then, obviously Draymond didn't like another guy in the room. So we'll talk about that later. But again,
I want to say this again. There's nothing wrong at this stage of his career being the guy that can come off the bench and get your buckets. We've seen teams have elite guys. You go back to Vinnie Johnson. Now, Kevin Durant's better than Vinnie Johnson. I want to clarify that. But those Detroit Pistons, 2 championship teams, man, the microwave come off the bench and was getting your buckets, right? There's nothing wrong.
I hated him.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a Kevin Durant coming off the bench and helping your team. He can still be the guy that's on the floor for your team in the fourth quarter. I just don't think if you want to win a championship that he's a guy that you want to be one of your top 2 scorers on your team or your top 2 people. You saw that with the Nets. It didn't work. You saw it with the Suns. It didn't work. He's just not that guy anymore, in my opinion. And that's why I would hang up the phone if the Phoenix Suns calling off for me Kevin Durant for the number 2 pick, Stephon Castle. No way.
Wouldn't even, San Antonio wouldn't even take that call.
They would not. Rob, Gary, so they still have DeAndre Fox here, the Spurs here. So how does that complicate things, you think, having, if they get, obviously Dylan Harper, Rob, is, DeAndre Fox, so he was out for the year with his, I think he had a sprained thumb or something like that. But how does DeAndre Fox kind of fit in that? Go ahead.
Even if they keep the number 2 pick and don't get a Giannis, we look at it, man. You can get Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, and you still have the you have Victor Wembanyama.
Maybe, yep. Mm-hmm.
The power forward on the team with the funny color hair. I call him the new Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, is that Johnson? You thinking of Johnson? Keandre Johnson?
No, what's his name?
I know. It's like I can see him. Yeah, keep going. I know you're talking about. Go ahead.
He played at Baylor.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on his name. He's from like Brazil.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Keep going.
But that's
it's not Jeremy Sockman or whatever his name is, right?
Yeah, Jeremy Sohan.
Yeah, Sohan. Yeah,
that's him. You got Jeremy Sohan, Victor Wembanyama, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox. You still got Chris Paul, but Chris Paul is not a part of the future. He probably helped them another year or so.
40 years old.
Look at those 5 young players on that roster. And Jeremy Sohan is it's funny. I call him the new age Dennis Rodman. He plays like him. He's got the funny hair, but he's a nemesis. He gets in the team's grill, and you have Victor Wembanyama, those young players, Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle. That's a great group of young talent right there on that team. That could be extremely scary for the Western Conference and the entire NBA going forward, even if you don't make the move for a guy like Giannis.
Yeah.
So why would you want to give up a Dylan Harper and a Stephon Castle for a 37-year-old guy that should be coming off the bench?
Yeah. Yeah, we know that's not going to happen. I think that's more Phoenix trying to put that out there. Gary trying to muddy the waters. Like, hey, come on, man.
Someone.
I love it. Rob, let's talk about the mock draft here. You kind of posted this today at 4, or yesterday, at 4. And appreciate, the first round mock that you did. I think you did the second as well a little later. But I'm a fan of, I know that you said the Pels want some bigs. As a Hawks fan, I would like some bigs as well, man. So,
but you got one at number 22.
I want them at 13 and 22, man.
You want to double down, huh?
I would like to get just kind of like the pass rushers and the Falcons. I want to get 2 7-footers. I mean, I think Thomas Sober is not technically a 7-footer, but he's 6'10", whatever.
6'9". Most teams still look at him as a center though in the NBA.
But again, Onyeka Okongwu is still about 6'9" too. So you need some. I think you need some. I like the OKC example, man. I need some 7-footers, man. So, but that's just. I know it's too high for certain situations, but that's what I would like. But go ahead with your mock if you will.
Yeah. Well,
nice pitch.
Number
7 foot.
one is a no-brainer, and for our listeners
two.
and viewers out there, the draft is actually on next Wednesday night,
Yeah.
and so Cooper Flag number 1 pick, Dylan Harper's number 2. I think those are given. I think where the draft is going to start at the number 3 pick, right?
Yeah.
I think that's when the draft is going to start. Right now, I have VJ Edgecombe going to the Sixers. I already talked about him, his ability to defend, a tremendous athlete. From the Bahamas, played at Baylor last year. I think he's got potential to be either a Dwayne Wade or at worst could be a possible Victor Oladipo kind of player. Khan Knippel is a guy I moved up in the draft. I got him up to number 4 in Charlotte. And Khan might be the best shooter in the draft, right? But he does a little bit more than just shoot. I mean, he's a solid defender. He can handle the basketball. Played at Duke as well. I got him going up to number 4 to Charlotte. Trey Johnson is another guy, like guard from Texas. He's about 6'5", 6'6". He averaged over 19 points a game for Texas last year as a freshman. Can really shoot the basketball. I have him going number 5 to Utah. Ace Bailey, we talked about this earlier. I got him going number 6 to Washington. Kaman Maluka, center from Duke, 7'2". Have him going to the Pels at 7. Jeremiah Fears is a guy that could be moving up in this draft too. Point guard from Oklahoma. 6'4". I have him going to the Brooklyn Nets. He's a guy that can score the basketball at the point guard position as well as distribute it. So he's a guy to watch that can possibly move up into this top 6. But right now I have him going number 8. And then my Noah Nsink, power forward from France, 6'11". I have him going to Toronto at number 9. Here's a guy that can play the 4 or the 3. Really good athlete, can really defend. His shooting has improved tremendously. And we always say that France is probably one of the most improved countries when it comes to basketball.
That's who I wanted the Blazers to pick.
So what?
Yeah, that's who I wanted the Blazers to pick.
Yeah, he's a versatile guy, right? 6'11", that can play the small forward or the power forward. And if we look at France here, we're probably going to have at least 3 first-round picks in this draft. All right, I have 4 right now, actually. Noah Nsink. I got Johan Berenger, center from France, to the Hawks at 22. Nolan Traore, point guard, who coming into the year was considered a top 5 prospect. I have him going 25 to Orlando. And Noah Pinda, small forward from France, to Brooklyn at 27. But getting back to the top 10, I got Carter Bryant, 6'8", small forward from Arizona. He had a big-time year as a freshman as well. And he's a 3-and-D guy, too. Really showed that he can really shoot the basketball and defend as well. Number 11, Portland, Kasparas Jušanovičius, point guard from Illinois. He's from Lithuania originally. 6'6" point guard. He's got a real strong basketball IQ. He shot the ball almost 40% from three-point range. But what you really like about him is his vision on the court, his basketball IQ, running an offense. And he could possibly even be a top 10 player here as well. Atlanta, I got him taking Igor Dimin, point guard from BYU, who's Russian. He's like a 6'9" point guard, so you can either play him as a point or you can play him as a small forward, as like a point forward. And similar to Kasparas, he's just got a strong basketball IQ, just plays the game the right way. Not a Nikola Jokic, but has the IQ like a Nikola Jokic, right? So he's definitely a guy that a lot of scouts are extremely high on. And with the Hawks' second pick, I talked about a Johan Berenger, center from France, 6'11". He has a potential to be one of the best shot blockers in this draft, along with Kaman Maluka, center from Duke. I think he and Johan Berenger could be the best 2 shot blockers to come out of this draft. He's still a little raw offensively, but he's the guy that can help you on the defensive end right away. And Thomas Sober, center, Georgetown. He's also a guy that probably could go a lot higher in this draft. The only thing I think that's holding him down, he's got hurt in mid-February, so he hasn't really been able to work out for teams. And so this is probably about right for his projection as a result of that. But he's about 6'9", almost 250, 260 pounds. So he's a good athlete, and he's got a lot of size. definitely going to be a rebounding force and a defender. And he's got a solid offensive game, too. But like I said, he hasn't been able to work out for teams, and he's been out since mid-February. So it's probably right on par for the area he's going to go in. Yeah. But it's posted on our Talking Sports with a 12-man page if y'all want to see the entire mock draft.
Any comments, Gary, about Rob's mock draft and your thoughts on Casper, the point guard from Illinois? Do you like that pick?
That'd be a good pick. We need all the help we can get.
Nice.
We're a ways away.
Love it.
Trailblazers played well at the end of the season.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
They had some, you know, sometimes that carry overs to the next season. And so they had some momentum going. I thought it was going to get rid of Chauncey Billups, but I think the way they played at the end of the year was the reason why they gave him an extension.
Well, that and the team is for sale, so I think they just didn't want to.
Speaking of team for sale, how about the Lakers? The bus.
Yeah, we saw $10 billion. Walter, was it Mark? Yeah, we got $10 billion. Damn, $10 billion. Billion to be. Man, I didn't think they were ever going to sell ever.
Like, wow.
But he owns like the Dodgers too, right? The Dodgers and all of the stuff, if I'm not mistaken, right? The whole just stacking, man. That's just almost unfair. Hey, getting back to the draft, Rob, again, Edgar, he's got like a high basketball IQ. I'm not going to say I'm totally mad with that pick. I'm a little nervous because he does seem a little timid. You know, they talked about he's a less aggressive Josh Giddey, which I don't know if that's good or bad. So curious about that situation. I do like the Frenchman. Again, I'm not a fan of 6'10". You got to be 7 foot, man. You know, that's again, we got these undersized centers, man. I'd like you to be at least, and I'm being facetious here, but
right?
You know, what'd you say?
Clint Capella, right?
No, Clint Capella's like 6'10" too. He's not really a 7 footer either. So, but he's not going to be re-signed by the Hawks because it's probably too much money. I think the Frenchman is probably a good pick for them, especially if we need defense for sure. I would say because obviously that's anything that's going to help out Trey. And if Joan is actually 7 foot, then I'm okay with that. I also like Maxine Reynard from Stanford.
Yeah, I do too.
And then I like Hanson Yang too, man. There's a couple of guys, you know, but again, it's like those are like lesser down in the pipeline. So at 13, it's like it's kind of tough because I don't know if anyone's high enough to take, you know, besides a Thomas Sober at that
I wouldn't
high.
take him at 13.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's why you're kind of at no man's land as far as who do you.
And really, about the only guy I would take at 13 that fits what you're looking for, a 7 footer, was Kaman from Duke, but I don't think he's going to fall at 13.
Either. Yeah. Come on. I mean, I know you had Danny Wolf going like a couple of picks later. Yeah. You know, that's
Danny Wolf was about 6'11", 7 feet, but he plays more like a 4 than a 5, in my opinion. He plays like a stretch 4.
And then you got Colin Murray Bowles, who everyone compares to like a Draymond Green. So you're kind of interested as far as that because he's a severely
he's about a 6'8" guy, but he plays taller than what he is. He's a guy that's tough as nails. So he's one of the blue kind of guys you want on your team. He's going to play taller than what he actually is. He's a tough as nails kind of guy.
That's what's tough, right? Yeah. So I'm kind of like you, Rob. I'm like, do you kind of get like? I mean, I love the Carter Bryans if he slips. You know, I don't know if he's going to get there. Derek Queen has been mocked to us a lot. I'm not sure enough if he again still undersized, right? So you're kind of looking
at 6'9",
this kind of like.
And you know, I initially had him projected as a power forward. A lot of scouts think he's probably going to be better at center, even at 6'9". If he's an old school low post guy, he's not like a stretch 4 kind of power forward. He's an old school guy. Give me the ball on the post and let me work down there. And
a 6'9" guy like that can do that. Mm-hmm. If he's a low post guy, he's got those low post moves. He's always going to be in there when it's time to rebound, trying to get those tip-ins, offensive rebounds.
Some teams are worried about his one-on-one defensive ability, though. Derek Queen probably has top 10 potential. I mean, I have him going number 12 to the Bulls right now, so just one pick ahead of you in Atlanta. But he's definitely. I mean, he played well in the NCAA tournament. You know, he
Yeah, he
beat
did.
Colorado
Yeah, he
State.
did.
I think he had like 27 points. So
Yeah,
he did come up big for Maryland, and he was a true freshman last year as well.
yeah.
And but he's a traditional low post player. You know, the game has changed now. Where they like those guys to be able to post up and step out and shoot threes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting. Like I said, we'll move on. I mean, there's just like I said, I'm kind of curious. And then obviously we got your guy from the Pels. What is it, Byron? Was it Maxwell? What was his name? Not Byron. Like we got the guy from the Pels that's been really great, the draft guy. So I'm not sure who he's gonna, because he's been really great at scouting for the Pelicans. So I'm kind of curious as far as his thoughts. If we would have gotten the guy from the Raptors, he would have loved Igor Demand because he loves those big, long, players, if you will, too. And I'm not saying that's a bad pick for the Hawks. I'm just like, again, it's, this is just me being a little personal. We need a backup point guard. We need somebody that's going to be, that can control that second unit. But, I don't know if we're going to kind of depend on somebody in the draft that can come in, or we still need some bigs, man. So that's our biggest challenge.
Whoever you drafting at 13, you want that player to be a starter. Maybe not right away, but at least by year 2, you want that guy to be a starter. Whoever you drafting at 13, and then at 22, you're just hoping you can find a diamond in the rough there.
Yeah. I do want to briefly talk about the Orlando Magic. They had a pretty big trade here, getting Desmond Bane on the 15th. They actually Memphis traded Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic. The Grizzlies actually receive Contavious Caldwell-Pope. He's been around the league for like 30 years, it feels like. They get Cole Anthony, 4 unprotected first-round picks, guys. The number 16 pick in today's draft, this year's draft, the 2026 pick from Phoenix, the 2028 pick, and a 2030, and then they get a first-round swap in 2029. And again, it's just apparently it feels like they're resetting this, Rob. They're kind of getting some draft capital flexibility to kind of reset around Ja Morant. Jaren Jackson Jr., I want to say he is kind of I think he's eligible for an extension this year. But Orlando gets kind of a 3-and-D player. They did pay a hefty price, and I'm like, damn, you got 4 unprotected. Man, I need to trade to figure out what I can get for him. But it's just crazy. Do you think he was worth that, Rob? 4? First round unprotected.
The Knicks did the same thing to get Mikal Bridges on last year, right? And
exactly.
Yeah, Mikal Bridges has been a nice player for him. The Knicks went to the Eastern Conference Finals this year. That's a lot for Desmond Bane. Now, I like Desmond Bane's game. He can really shoot the basketball. He can get to the paint. He's a solid defender. But it seems as though these are the kind of moves that teams are making to elevate themselves. Orlando Magic has been in the playoffs the last 2 years. They've gotten eliminated in the first 2 rounds. And when you look at their roster, they got Paolo Banchero, who's a star. Franz Wagner is another guy that's really good. And now you added Desmond Bane to their roster too. And so you now you have 3 guys that can really play, and you're putting yourselves in contention to possibly be a top 4 or 5 team in the Eastern Conference. And when you look at the Eastern Conference right now, just looking, I mean, this season is not even over yet, but next year is wide open. The Celtics at best not going to get Jason Tatum back till maybe February or March, right? So how far down? And then when he does come back, how productive is he going to be, right? And so you got to think that Boston is going to take a step down. Cleveland may still be in play. The Knicks still needs a coach. So, I mean, the Pacers are probably going to be in play as well. So you can almost make a case that Orlando could be in that number for a team competing. Do I agree with the 4 unprotected picks? No, but they're trying to put themselves in a position to possibly be a team that can sneak into the NBA Finals next year.
Good move for them in the short term.
Mm-hmm.
The next couple of years. Then we'll see. Then we'll see how it all plays out. And that's what you have to when you're dealing with unprotected picks, where they fall, how everything shakes out.
Yeah.
It could be a fantastic move, or it could be one of the biggest blunders in the league.
Yeah. Hey, I just pulled up their roster too. I mean, when Jalen Suggs is healthy too, I mean, he's a heck of a player.
Yeah.
Uh, we talk about Jalen Williams and how he gets you extra possessions. Jalen Suggs is the same thing on the defensive end. I mean, he's a guy that, so you look at the stat sheet, and he's a stat sheet stuffer to clear to steal Clark Kellogg's line, right? He's a guy, when you look at the stat sheet, he's going to have 14 points, 7-8 assists, 7-8 rebounds, 3-4 steals, 1-2 blocks. So he's just one of those guys that can really play. So you kept him on the roster. Anthony Black is a good young player. Wendell Carter Jr., still a pretty solid center. Gary Harris, a guy that can really defend. They're probably still going to need maybe another bench player or two. They still have one first-round pick in this year's draft too, right? So they didn't trade that. So they still have the 25th overall pick in this draft. I haven't taken Nolan Traore, point guard from France. And
I still need a point guard, Rob.
And Nolan, the thing about Nolan, this kid's got a lot of potential. When we were doing mock drafts last summer for this year's mock, Nolan was considered a top 5 pick for this year's mock. He's kind of fallen off a little bit. And the reason why he's fallen off a bit is because they projected him in this last year to improve his shooting. And he really hasn't improved his shooting. But defensively and ball handling and facilitating the offense, he's got all of those things down. He just got to get the shooting aspect down. And that's the reason why he's kind of dropped down in the draft a little bit. Most experts expected him, but he's still only a 19-year-old guy that still can really improve his game over the next few years. But he's a guy that some even thought he could be the number 2 pick in this year's draft. This year, he's kind of fallen down now.
All of these
sportscasters
sportscasters down here were talking about this, and they were all talking about in the short term. This could be, where can they position themselves in these next 3 seasons, and then we'll see how it shakes out. But they were all positive on it. Of course, they were all for it. And hey, any of us small market organizations, we want our team to take a swing for the fence, because so many times our teams don't, and then guess what? We watch these other teams do whatever they're going to do. Yep. So you got to swing for the fences. You're never going to hit it out of the park unless you get that bat off your shoulder and swing it.
That's why you got to go for it, right? And look, sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss, but you got to be aggressive. You're going to have a chance, right?
Yeah.
It goes back to the Milwaukee Bucks a few years ago. We may not have agreed with the contract they gave Chris Middleton, but they needed Chris in order to win a championship, and he played a viable role for that team. And without Chris Middleton, they would not have won that championship.
No, they would not have.
So sometimes you do have to overpay to get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Gary, I know we're going a little longer here, but I did want to show some love for the Cowboys here, because you're wearing the uniform, and this is kind of a projection, right? So, despite a 7-10 record last year, optimism is apparently growing for the Cowboys. Healthy Dak Prescott. I know you hate hearing me say that, but that's what we're looking at. But the addition of George Pickens, and should it help aid a revamped offensive line? And Micah Parsons is expected to get a massive new contract. He may be like the most highest non-quarterback player being paid. And this is from bloggingtheboys.com. We're talking about, obviously, the addition of Matt Eberflus as a defensive coordinator is a big move as far as an aggressive style. So what say you as far as optimism for the boys,
Well, first of all, I went, as soon as I saw this topic, I went to the Vegas odds, and I wanted to see where Vegas had them. So I did my homework, and then I went and looked and see what Vegas had to say about them. Vegas had started off with them at 7.5, but now they're 8.5 wins for the season. They're plus 190 to make the playoffs, plus 600 to win the East, and they got a 1.6% chance to win the Super Bowl. Odds are not good for them, but I'm optimistic. Okay, so I would.
Well, the Eagles are in your division, and the Commanders. So that's everyone. Those are the two darlings right now.
So first of all, I don't think that the Commanders are going to be the same team they were last year. I think they're going to take a step back. Okay.
Okay.
And I don't think the Giants are making such a leap forward that's going to matter.
The Giants, the Giants are probably.
So this is how I have the season played out. I have week 1. They play Thursday night. They play Philadelphia, and I'm hoping for a victory. I'm going to put all of my jinx efforts on Philadelphia, but Philadelphia will probably win that game. But I have the Cowboys not losing a game until they play Denver at Denver, week 8.
Wow.
And so in the next half of the season, I have them losing to the Raiders losing the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas, Kansas City, I can see that one. Detroit.
Okay.
I'm not sure where that was, and the Commanders. I have them losing in Washington, so I have them at 11-6. That is my prediction for the Cowboys this year.
Okay.
So I have them over 8.5. Over what?
Okay, that's pretty optimistic. That's a real optimistic situation. Wow. Okay. Rob, anything to add to that, or you're just kind of like
you're second in the division and making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Second in the division over the Commanders, huh? Because you got Eagle. Okay.
Well, I think the Cowboys are going to finish third in the division, but I think they will be a borderline playoff team. I can see them still getting to the playoffs as a third team in that division. I really do. I think they're somewhere around 9-8, 10-7, in my opinion. So just slightly under, Gary's projections. I think the Commanders are still the second best team, even though I think Debo is a Popeye's biscuit away from being a defensive tackle. But
Debo, not Popeyes, Rob. Not a biscuit away. Come on, man.
That was good.
God.
That was good.
Keep going, Rob. Wow.
But I still think the Commanders I think the Commanders have made a lot of good moves to improve their offensive line. I thought they made some good moves to improve their defense. And look, Cowboys made some good moves too, right? If George Pickett come there and perform with his, if he gets it together between his ears, he can have a real big impact on that offense, right?
Scary offense, Gary.
Yeah.
That's scary with CeeDee Lamb and Pickens taking some.
And the Cowboys got a good offensive line too, right?
Who you gonna double? Am I gonna double CD or double Pickens? Now I got to figure out who's the third receiver. I mean, he can eat two, but you're like, man, I
can see 3 teams from that division making the playoffs. I really could. So, but I still think the Cowboys will be behind the Eagles and the Commanders. They'll be competitive, but I see them still third place, but still a possible playoff team with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I unfortunately I agree with Rob, Gary. I mean, not that I'm trying to go against you. It's just I just think that it's a little.
I'm used to it.
I do think that no. This is what I'm going to say. Only because I agree with you that the Commanders do take a step back, because I do think it's going to be a little harder in Jaden's second year. I think he's still going to be great, but it's not because I hate the Cowboys. I just think I still think the Commanders are kind of still up there too. So. You guys are close, honestly, too. But it's not because I hate the Cowboys. I just think that the Commanders are just really good, and they made a lot of good moves. But I do think that the Commanders will take a step back, because it's going to be tough in that sophomore year for Jaden. They're going to figure out a couple of things how to game plan against him. He's still going to be dynamic too.
They've got a head coach that's got a history of kind of taking a step back a season or two.
True.
The Commanders.
Right.
So.
True.
I'm anticipating that too.
Yeah, I want to just point out two quick things before we wrap this up. A good move in that the Ravens, like the rich always get richer. They actually signed Jaire Alexander. I was somehow hoping that he would somehow reunite with Jerry Gray of the Falcons, but a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But
So what are you getting
again,
with
the rich get
Jaire,
richer.
though? What do you?
He's been injured a lot, but when he's not injured, he is again a top corner. But that's the huge.
But that's still a few years ago since we've seen him. Like, he's only played 7 games last year. He only played 7 games the year before. Yes, he is a 2-time Pro Bowler. And look, when he was healthy, he was probably, if not the best corner in the league, he was one of the best corners in the league.
How old is he?
28. He's 28 years
so
old.
So he could come back and have a great season, or he could be one of those guys that just gets,
yeah.
It's tough, right? It's definitely
Gary was just talking about this a little while ago, right? Sometimes you got to take some risk. So it's definitely worth taking the chance on to see what he has still in the tank. Look, we saw this with Marshawn Lattimore with the Saints, right? And Marshawn, we wondered how much he had left in the tank. And, he had a couple of injured seasons with the Saints, and all of a sudden he was mostly healthy last year. He still missed some games. But you saw once we traded him to the Commanders, he still has some good football and really helped that team. So he's still playing. When he's playing, he's still playing at a high level, even after a couple of injured seasons.
There it is. Just want to give a huge shout out to the Florida Panthers. They won back-to-back Stanley Cups. They beat the Edmonton Oilers. I'm so sorry to my guy John Borowski. He's a huge Oilers fan. They beat the Oilers 5-1 in Game 6 to clinch their second consecutive title. The first team, Rob, since Tampa Bay to do so, right? So, to win consecutive titles, and Tampa Bay was 2020, 2021. I think Sam Reinhart started with 4 goals. So just kind of a good situation for the Florida Panthers.
How about the state of Florida when it comes to hockey, right? We've got a team from Florida in the last 6 Stanley Cup finals. The Florida Panthers have been in the last 3 finals, and the Tampa Bay Lightnings were in the 3 finals prior to that, right? And so we've had a Florida team in the Stanley Cup finals for the last 6 years, and a Florida team has won 4 of the last 6 lower Stanley Cups.
Yep. If you're
who would have thought a few years ago?
There are no kids playing hockey in Florida.
That is hilarious. That's a funny stat too. Like
none of those hockey players on those teams are from Florida. Just
no,
like everybody else.
Not one.
This is now another interesting stat. Not that I'm trying to pile on, but this does extend Canada's Stanley Cup drought to like 32 years. The last Canadian team to hoist the trophy was the Montreal Canadiens. Get this, in 1993. That was the last time a Canadian team hosted a Stanley Cup trophy. So that's a title. Oh man, isn't that crazy? That's where we're going. But Sam Bennett wins the the Conn Smythe Trophy, 15 goals in the postseason. So again, shout out to Florida and Florida Panthers for winning that too. Lastly, I do want to talk about LaNorris Sellers. The fact that obviously the quarterback from South Carolina, Robin, he's going to be a top pick coming up in the next, I think the first round pick in the draft in 2026, if you will. But I think I was reading it was like $8 million that he kind of turned down for an NIL deal. Is that kind of what that was that he turned down?
Heck of a player. He was a redshirt freshman last year, had a phenomenal year at University of South Carolina. They were one of those teams that just missed the playoffs. And if they would have got into the playoffs, nobody would have wanted to face that team. LaNorris was a beast. Their defense was a beast. His special teams were good. If you got a Beamer as your head coach, they're going to have a good special teams.
Yeah.
Shane Beamer's dad, Frank Beamer, was the ultimate special teams coach. And they're going to play good special teams. So, yeah, he has the potential to be a top 5 pick in next year's draft and at the quarterback position. And he's a dual threat guy. And he's big. Throw the football, he can run it. So he's a guy that can definitely be a top 5 pick in next year's draft if he has another productive season.
Gary, anything else you wanted to kind of talk about, or anything that was on your mind, or what?
Rob, who's your NFL bust? Who's your risk of NFL bust?
Oh, I had a list here. Oh,
Was this rookies, Rob, or this just kind of like just? I didn't know if you meant to say rookies or just any player. I had a couple of ideas for that.
Breaking
as
news:
well.
Ace Bailey cancels 76ers visit ahead of the draft.
Wow.
This guy.
He's
I see a rider
he's
over
going
here.
to the Blazers. All right.
Yeah.
Man.
Joe Dumars must have sold him on something, man. He might fall to the Pelicans. But yeah, here are the guys I think, Trevor Lawrence, of course. I think this is a make or break season for him. If he doesn't get it done this year, it could be labeled a bust. Bryce Young, he's getting another opportunity. Really kind of came on a little bit at the end of last year. But I think this will be the make or break year for him too. For my Saints, Trevor Penny on the offensive line. They're moving him to left guard now, so it'll be his third position. So Kellen Moore is moving him to left guard, first round pick. Anthony Richardson, quarterback of the Colts. And Travis Etienne, running back for Jacksonville as well. And then Andre's probably going to agree with me here. Kyle Pitts, the Falcons, right? Number 4 pick overall. And so these are my guys here, 6 guys that I had that could possibly be their make or break season.
I had all those guys, but I also threw in Justin Fields as well.
That's interesting. Yeah. Right. That could be a good one. But, Aaron Glenn is giving him all the confidence in the world. He's like, you're our guy. And I guess that's the reason why I didn't kind of put him down. But that is kind of a good one, though, there. Aaron Glenn is like, he says, look, you don't have to look over your shoulder. You are our quarterback. You're going to go help us win football games. And so he's like really boosting him up. That's really interesting.
I do think the big one on this list is Trevor Lawrence, though.
Yeah, we agree on that one. Trevor Lawrence is probably
squad.
Yeah. What do you think about Will Campbell, Rob, as far as some options with that, as far as him as can he handle some speed rushes, I guess is the situation too, man. What do you think about that?
Well, left tackle from LSU. Yeah. Oh no! I mean, I watched him and he played against the SEC. He played against the best of the best, and he held his own. I mean, he was, he's a technician. What I like about Will Campbell is he doesn't make any missteps. Right? It's he's a technician. Right? He's very fundamentally sound. If there's one thing you gotta worry about him, he doesn't really have long arms. But, he went up against the best of the best in the SEC, and he handled them all. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There's nobody that you can say ate him up. It was really more like he ate them up.
That was on the list, and I was like, I was going to ask you about that because that was on the list that I saw from this topic. I was like, I wonder what.
No, I think he's going to be a fundamentally sound pro. Yeah,
gotcha.
I think that he's probably a guy that could probably start in the league for 10, 12 years for sure.
I agree with you too on Trevor Lawrence. This is a definite make or break year. I had Bryce Young down as well because, again, kind of the same situation with Bryce. Your opportunities are getting kind of going to be limited. This is a make or break year for you. We all kind of pick our players. I think I'm kind of over the Kyle Pitts thing because it's kind of unfair to keep comparing him. I think when he was drafted, that's kind of the biggest thing too. And you got to think about the regime that drafted him, right? Arthur Smith was, a huge fan of running that personnel. They obviously had the tight ends and whatnot too, the 2 tight end personnel. And he's no longer with us. So in Atlanta, everyone's like, did we trade him? Did we get rid of him? And we don't have an accurate pass catcher after Kyle Pitts, so they're saying the right stuff. Like, hey, this is the year. You've got a lot of talent, so this is the time because right now we don't have a proven another pass catcher on the Falcons right now, as of now. So that's actually played in the NFL. So I think We're going to give him every opportunity. We're going to see how he aligns with Michael Penix, and we'll kind of go from there. And it is kind of unfair that he was drafted so high, and I'm still upset about passing over Ja'Marr Chase. That's never going to go away. Like us passing over Chris Paul as a Hawk, it's never going to go away. But you're here, right? The cat's out of the bag, man. You got to let that slide. So no matter how we feel, and if he's a bust or not,
Williams was the most talented player coming out of that draft, man. Marvin Williams was the most talented player coming out.
Get out of here. Get the heck out of here, Rob. You better get the heck out of here.
Rob.
And that's still to this day. You got number 2 pick. We needed a point guard. We're going to draft Marvin Williams. What? What the hell?
Over Devin Williams, too.
Huh? What you say, Rob?
Drafted him over Devin Williams, too. I mean, Devin Williams hasn't turned out to be the pro Chris is, but Devin, for a while, 18 years, was a really good point guard, too.
Darren Williams,
Williams.
What happened was Billy Knight. Yeah, Darren Williams from Illinois, so he was a bigger point. And the thing was, whenever Chris Paul played against him, I think something Billy Knight was watching that game, and he was like, he saw how I guess Darren Williams gave him trouble. And he's like, nope, I'm not drafting this dude. You're like one game, that dude decided not to draft Chris Paul.
Darren Williams did give him fits, though. He really did. But even in NBA, he gave Chris Paul the business.
Yeah, but that was, like I said, one player, and you're like, come on, you're going to base that on one game? And I apologize, guys. I know I went on another tangent, but that was ridiculous to me. So, again, you guys, even Byron Scott was like, yeah, Pelicans coach, just shut down Summer League. He knew that Chris Paul was a player. One game, I'm done.
I remember that. He played Chris Paul one game in the Summer League and said, nope, we don't have to see him anymore. Let's get him ready for the season. That dude scored 100 points in a high school game. Like, we knew that dude was going to be good. And he was right up straight from Wake Forest. Come on, man. I'm still upset about that one. Like, no, we're going to get Marvin Williams. He was a 6th man. Barely played. No offense, Rob. No offense. North Carolina, 6th man come off the bench. He was the 6th man on a national championship team.
But still, man, it's not like he was like, come on.
6.
He wasn't starting in the ACC. He was
from a 6th man to number 2 pick in the draft.
That was terrible, man. I'm still upset about that one. We need a point guard. You know what? We're going to draft Marvin Williams. Like, what the fuck?
Andre's still salty about that.
Wow, he is.
He's still,
like 21 years ago, Andre.
He's 40 years old and he's still in the league. He done went through 50 teams and we'll probably get him now. Here you go, Chris Paul. It's like we got Kenny Anderson 30 years later. Too late. Man, this is unbelievable.
Oh, man.
I'm still pissed. Pissed.
You're going to be dreaming about that tonight.
Anyway. Oh, man.
What if Chris Paul was in a Hawks uniform? You're going to be dreaming about that tonight.
Man, Ja'Marr Chase, too. That dude was like, there's no way that he's going to get past, that he's going to be there at number 4. You know what? We're going to get Kyle Pitts. Cincinnati was like, they were laughing at us. They were like, Joe Burrow was like, watch the Falcons skip Ja'Marr Chase. Watch this. Kyle Pitts. They were like,
you know that could happen. Ja'Marr Chase from New Orleans, went to LSU. You know you can play for the Falcons. Come on.
But this is the thing, Rob. I don't care what you say. This is the thing. Terry Fontenot came from New Orleans, right? He came from there, right? You would, you think give us a solid. He probably did. He probably did us in. Did us a solid and be like, yo, like you talk about you want talent. Like, right? You should have overridden like Arthur Smith. Like, man, what the hell? Come on, bruh. What the hell? We didn't see he done gave AJ Terrell like fits like his whole career. And he was only like he was a freshman. What the hell?
He gave AJ Terrell the business in college.
Like you talk about AJ Terrell, our top corner. He was like eating him up. I'm like, man, it's not even Justin Jefferson. This is Ja'Marr Chase eating him up. You saw that. You saw that shit in college. Come on, man.
You know when he started cursing, he's mad. He's still mad about it.
We're gonna get Kyle Pitts.
We're gonna have a little meter on his screen there. His stress meter for him.
Rob started it.
I started it.
There's some players.
You kind of got yourself going tonight.
I did. But there's some players that you wanted, right? Who are some players you wanted that got passed over? You got some players like that too, right? Come on.
I can't think of any. I'm sure they are. I just can't think of any off the top of my head right now.
Brandon Roy, right there. There you go.
Brandon Roy. Come on.
I'm joking. I know that's who the Blazers had.
I love Brandon Roy.
That's a good player.
I loved him as
well. At first, I was mad that we took Zion over John Morant, but with John Morant and all his foolishness now, I can't even say that anymore.
But see, unfortunately, you guys have good teams that are good at drafting, right? So you kind of can see, like, again, even in our limited knowledge, we can say, hey, the eye doesn't lie, right? You're like, hey, I know this is a need, fulfill the need, make it simple. Like Billy Knight wanted to draft a slumlord, from Duke, right? He was like, I'm drafting Sheldon Williams. And we're like, what the hell are you doing, man? Do not draft a slumlord, Sheldon, because, we're like, number 5, man. Come on, man.
Was a better basketball player than you was.
Before the draft, before that whole Jordan debacle with the Blazers, Bobby Knight flew to Portland. And he had a meeting.
I heard that story.
And he said, hey, you need to draft Michael Jordan. We've got Clyde Drexler. We don't need Michael Jordan. He says, you play Michael at center if you have to, but you draft him.
Yeah, I remember the Blazers said we need a center. We already have Clyde Drexler. And Bobby Knight told him, play him at center.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now you got me started. Thanks. I got a lot of history there.
Y'all drafted Sam Bowie, right?
Yeah.
Sam Bowie, yeah.
Wow.
Didn't you guys have an opportunity to grab? Because you guys drafted Greg Oden. You guys drafted Greg Oden over Kevin Durant too, right?
Yeah. On a lot of teams,
you guys have
that particular draft, a lot of teams had Oden over Durant in their draft boards.
Yeah. He went to my high school, man. So
whoever had the number 1 pick that year was taking Greg Oden. Greg Oden was considered a surefire number 1 pick, and he turned out to be a big time bust.
Well, you know what?
He was like 50 years old.
His body failed him.
Yep.
As far as talent wise, I remember when they were before he got injured his last time with Portland, and I remember us going down there and got to visit with the players and stuff, and this guy is just so massive, I'm standing there and I shake his hand and it's like I'm shaking a little infant's hand. That's how big he is. But the guy was, I remember him, he played like 25 games, and they were giving him, they were limiting him to like 20 minutes a game. But in 20 minutes a game, he was still, getting 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 blocks in 20 minutes a game. I'm like, oh, man, if this guy can get healthy, he's going to be – but he could.
Dominant.
And I feel bad for him, because he had talent, but his body just failed him.
Yeah.
He had an older body than – he looked older anyway.
Yeah, he was like 50 years old, man. He was old looking, man.
Wasn't cut out for the long, grueling NBA seasons, and that's just what happens with some of these guys. I thought we were going to have our big 3 with Brandon Roy, who had his own issues with his knees and everything like that, and deteriorated, but when he was healthy, Brandon Roy was awesome. I was at Brandon Roy's last game, and it was when the year Dallas won, and we were in the playoffs against Dallas, and we were 22 points down in the 4th quarter, and Brandon Roy scored all of the points for the Blazers.
Yeah,
and brought us back to beat him in that particular game. Now, and that's that year. They said that Dallas said that Portland was their toughest opponent in the playoffs because they had, Aldridge and Brandon Roy and these guys like that. But that's what I thought our big 3 was going to be at the time. Yep. Greg Oden, LaMarcus, and Brandon Roy. And I think we would have had that had they have not had their fragile bodies or whatever, the two players.
Yep.
Well, like I said, shout out to Greg Oden and Mike Connolly. Mike Connolly, they went to my high school in Indiana, Lawrence North. So again, that's my claim to fame. And also the late great Eric Montross went to Lawrence North as well too. So again, those are some ties to.
He's coaching somewhere, Brandon, or isn't Greg Oden's coaching somewhere now? I'm not
yeah, he is. He is.
I wish him the best.
Yeah,
Once in a while,
yeah,
I'm in town and I go to a game. I'll see him. He comes.
Oh yeah, you see him
he
still?
comes to the game sometimes. He'll fly in.
I know he was on Thad Matta's.
Brandon Roy
staff
gets a
at one
standing
time in
ovation no matter what part of the game as soon as he walks in. Still does.
Yeah, I think he's. It looks like I thought I said he was coaching on Thad Matta's staff.
There you go.
Yeah, but I'll look that up. That's he was hired at Ohio State to be the student manager at the time. But yeah, I'll look at where he's at. But I'll check that out too. But anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I think we've gone way over, and that's my fault because I was reminiscing about some bad draft picks and just kind of how
you got Gary going.
Totally screwed us. And I got Gary. And Rob
Rob
has drafted
held
well.
Your tongue so we could get off the air. Thank you.
Rob was like, I want no part of this anymore, too. So, Rob, let's wrap up another great edition of Talking Sports. You guys got a lot of extra time, too. So, let's wrap this bad boy up, if you will, here. So,
yeah, we had a great show. We covered a lot tonight. College football. We reminisced about past drafts. So, what a great show we had on tonight. And, hey, we'll be back next week. Gentlemen, I'm thinking Monday or Tuesday night next week. But stay tuned. We'll keep everyone posted on where we're going to be on.
And a shout out to JQ. We miss you tonight, buddy.
Yeah. Can't party all night in that town, JQ. So you got to behave yourself a little bit. they close the street.
He's not lying. A lot of cities close at 9. It's not
they
like
party till like 8:30 to 9. Huh? I mean,
let's go.
Good night, everyone. Great show.
Have a good night. We'll see you guys next week. Be good.
All right.